Let's just get a quick sense from you exactly what's going on here. So what is being discussed tomorrow at City Council?
Yeah. So for the last couple of years, the Downtown Residents Association have been pushing us at the city to try to find them a place for a downtown allotment garden. And we've been looking all over the place. And, we were looking at street level options too. There's no really obvious place to do so that's not enormously expensive. And so about a year ago, the DRA, that's the Downtown Residents Association, honed in on our parkades, potentially using some of the rooftop space that's on one of the parkades. And they narrowed in on Johnson Street Parkade, in part because that one doesn't fill up very much. They found that 99% of the time it's not full. So they actually hired a group of student engineers to do a study for them. And the students spent several months looking at all the aspects of a rooftop garden. So looking at the structural considerations, if you were to put X amount of soil and the weight, can the parkades handle that? Looking at the BC Building Code to ensure that a rooftop garden wouldn't trigger a change of use, which would require a rezoning and stuff that's not going to happen. And also just looking at the revenue that comes from the parkade and how many stalls it would take, and just doing like a technical feasibility study. So that wrapped up a month or two ago, and there was a public presentation on it. Myself and Councillor Thompson, and I think Councillor Dell were there. And then from that, we thought, okay, this does look feasible enough to move forward. And so now what the motion would be to ask staff to essentially ground truth the study that was put on or that was completed by the undergraduate engineers. And if it is in fact feasible, to take the next steps to work with the DRA to look at doing some kind of a pilot rooftop garden for them.
Now, this space, like we said, is the rooftop of the Johnson Street Parkade itself. We've been getting tons of reaction to this, so I wanted to run some questions by you.
Sure.
Several on the loss of parking. So let's just start there. It's about 16 spaces that would be lost to the garden. But what you're saying is that they're not often full. So I guess that's one of the reasons why you're entertaining it. But let's talk about that, the loss of parking side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a little bit of a trade-off, yes. I mean, if you track the data on our parkades, there's a parkades app that's actually not run by the city. It's a private app, but it essentially gives real-time data on the parkades, and I believe the students use that data and some other data to figure out that that parkade just very rarely fills all the way up. I mean, on Canada Day or Symphony Splash or something like that, it will be full. But on your average day, the rooftop is not filling up, and so the argument of the DRA is that the city could do without those 16 stalls and as a trade-off, allowing them to have a long-desired rooftop garden. But, it's important not to minimize that, because obviously we need the parking, and parkades are also a major source of revenue for the city.
Yeah, and that gets into money, because let's talk about the money. Like, what kind of would there be taxpayers funding to make this happen? I guess there's the loss of parking revenue potentially. So, and I had one texter say in kind of a joking way, but I think to a serious point, the city's not even paying for all the hanging baskets anymore. How do we have money for this? So, talk about the money side of it.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that this wouldn't cost the city very much at all. I mean, this would be a pilot that would be operated by the DRA, so that it would be up to them to fence it off, build these would be container gardens, right? Obviously, you're not going to put soil directly onto concrete. So it'd be up to them to build those containers, pay for the soil. That's my expectation. I mean, it's possible that it would take a little bit of staff time to get it off the ground, but this would be something that would be funded and operated by the DRA, who would essentially be using a little bit of space in our parkade. But yeah, the 16 stalls on a very busy day in which those stalls are filled up, yes, that would be a slight loss of parking revenue. But other than that, I don't think that there's much in the way of capital or operating costs that would fall to the city.
Okay, so not a ton of taxpayers' money would be needed for this. If it were going to happen, again, like you said, it's not there yet. We're just looking into exploring it. Another thing that has come up a bunch, and I won't read any specific text. I've just seen a ton of text messages this morning on this topic, and that's sort of that particular area of the city. There's some security concerns. One texter even pointing out, that's the reason we don't park there is because that area is sometimes a little problematic when it comes to just personal safety. Is that something to consider? Is that the right place to put something like this?
Yeah, I think it's a fair point, and we've talked about that with the DRA, and there would have to be some kind of security there. I mean, they might have to put up a little gate or something like that. But, look, we're trying to be responsive to what the downtown residents want. It's important to understand that this is not a a city-driven initiative. We're just trying to be responsive to what residents want. And one of the things that we've learned from the DRA is that they have a 160-person wait list for a future allotment garden, even though one doesn't exist yet. There's just enormous demand for folks that live in downtown condos and apartments to have access to a little bit of soil to do a little bit of gardening. So the security challenges around there, they definitely exist. Do they exist up on the rooftop? I'm not sure. I mean, that's something that staff can take a look at and work with the DRA on moving forward.
All right, we're right at a time, but I do want to ask one last quick question just because some listeners brought this one up. A while ago, the city bought some properties, the old Romeo's restaurant in Blanchard there, and some of the surrounding properties, I think to eventually make a green space. And some texters just wondering, well, couldn't you do some kind of community garden in that space? What's the future there like?
Yeah, and that's a great idea, and I've had the same thought, and it's just going to take us a couple of years to get there. We do own the Urbana and Romeo's buildings right now, but with Crystal Pool and several other capital projects going on, there's just not the funds available to transform that into a park. But it's still in our long-term plans to transform that into some kind of an urban green space, and that would be properly fenced. And that's absolutely a consideration for an urban garden in the future. I think this rooftop garden, if it happens, should be best thought of as a pilot that would maybe go on for a couple of years and then eventually move somewhere else. But, at least for me, I think it's worth it to give it a shot to try to meet the needs of the downtown residents.
Well, no decisions yet, but Victoria City Councillors will be discussing that tomorrow, the idea of a pilot project kind of rooftop garden for the top of the Johnson Street Parkade, if, it all works out. I'm going to leave you on this one. Victoria City Councillor Jeremy Caradonna is here, and texter here says, I think in the spirit of the day, the new garden should be called Rooflandia.
That's a really good one, actually.
Just gonna leave it on that.
I'll mention that in council tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank you, Texter.